I did a thing like this back in 2020 at the end of the year, and it was interesting to look back on this, just in so far of seeing where I've been back then and then seeing where I am now, and I'm kind of doing the same thing. I just didn't manage to make it in time in 2021, so I do it now, and this is fairly weird because usually I am at least talking to a camera, talking into a lens, and I know there's some kind of audience who will watch a video, but now I'm literally speaking to a wall, and this is also unscripted, which makes it even more uncomfortable. I like to kind of cling to my scripted words, still very, very insecure in my English abilities and my language skills, if you will, and on the other hand, I just think like this is a way for me to not only see myself from the outside when I look back on this time, but also give you a genuine piece of me, like in the most authentic way I can be. Because every time I turn the camera on, I kind of course have this, there's something I like to call camera authenticity when I speak into the camera and when I perform, but obviously that's not the me, the everyday me, and I hope with this format, with this interview with myself, to get a little bit closer to this and kind of away from the content I usually tend to make. Also, I finished my travel documentary series, Our Last Adventure, and I do not think actually it has a lot to do with what comes next and where we go from here. 2021. I remember the start being terrible, like shitfully terrible. I know, like 2020 for me was full of anxiety and also full of disappointment in a way, over myself mostly, I think. But if that was 2020, 2021 was about being pissed. That was definitely the start. That's what I remember. But then it all got better. And speaking from where I am today, it's almost hard to remember how bad it was. Not that I wish that back upon myself, but it is just the way it is. And funny enough, once the lockdown in Germany and everything was lifted, it did not change that much for me and Kat, actually, because we kept working, and we actually built a whole online learning platform with 5 short and compact online courses all around sustainable travel and responsible volunteering, which is something I'm super proud of. That was what we spent the first half of the year on. Yeah, so one big point on the agenda for 2022 is working on work-life balance. Like, that has been a problem throughout my whole working life and something I need to desperately take care of. Other than that, to maybe finally get to some positives, I had a lot of great moments this year. Not like a lot, but there were quite a few ones. I learned a lot this year, which I'm super proud of. I kept up my reading habit. I read pretty much every day. I usually, I never set a time limit, but it's 30 minutes to an hour, sometimes longer. I really love that, and something I'm proud of because I've used to never ever read in my life. I would only read as much as I needed to, so that's definitely a positive in my life, and which is also where I learned the most from, because that's how you get information. For the longest time I used to believe like all the information is out there in video in some kind of shape or form, and I can just freely choose how to actually consume it, but I figured no. Actually not. There's a lot of wisdom and information to be derived, not sure what's right, from books. Yeah, so that is cool. And also, if you've watched the last episode of Our Last Adventure, the engagement ring that I've weaved for Kat eventually broke this year. And then, I'm not sure when it actually broke, but yeah, so we got kind of a substitute for it. We both got a partner tattoo symbolizing our time on travels and also New Zealand and what we love in natural environments the most. And we went to Scandinavia, of course. That was great. That was incredible. I've been looking forward to go Scandinavia for quite some time, because usually it's always we're looking to Asia, we're looking to South America, Canada, whatever. Just be far away from where we are, even from Europe. Change the continent, that's a must. And it never occurred to me that like the most incredible landscape and what I personally love, like the ocean, rough sea, and huge mighty mountains, like it's almost right around the corner. So Scandinavia was just one incredible experience, and also something we wanted to try, living in a van. We rented one, a personal build out, so that was definitely different than going with a rental company, because that may be an experience we might be looking forward to in the future. Yeah, so that's the thing that's going on in my head, in our heads. And if you watch those videos regularly and you just not landed coincidentally here for the very first time, you may have noticed that I have gone back to making YouTube videos, and that has been kind of a bliss in my life, really. This year I'm way less financially stable than I was in 2020, but I have been, and I am, way more happy. So that is very interesting, and it does not necessarily have to do with YouTube, but mostly with creating the content that I care about. So, and one of those being the travel series, Our Last Adventure, which was an attempt to not reuse, but eventually, finally, ultimately use all the New Zealand footage that I captured 2 years back and do something with it. Because I felt that from all this travel time, I never really got full closure. Maybe because I eventually kept those on the hard drive and never really got to look them through and work with them and work things out really with my past self. So that's the selfish attempt, and the audience approach was actually to just try and figure out what there might be beyond nostalgia. Like, how does it feel? How does it look when someone uses travel footage that is actually old and looks back onto it and kind of combines the past with the present? That's in a nutshell Our Last Adventure, trying to figure out what there is beyond nostalgia. And it's finished. And that was really cool. I also set a personal challenge for myself. I'm really into storytelling, and I wanted to try to not only tell the story with each video, but actually over the course of the whole series. And I think that worked out. And it was really great, and that was really fun. And I don't know if you may be wondering about the ending, but it was very important for me to end it, like literally end it. The series is called Our Last Adventure. And even though it may not actually be our very last adventure, it tells the story of people doing a thing for the last time and then ending things, ending our travel life. I might have ended on a higher note, but that was not the idea behind it. The idea was to end things, because that's what happens in life sometimes, and I think that's also important to keep in mind. So where do we go from here? That's kind of the big question in my head right now, and I really don't know. Like 2022 started with, we were just basically blasting out money in the very beginning of the year, because we have some plans. We don't want to spend 2022 like we spent 2021, and I think the only way to actually deal with this is to make plans again, like start things again, get going again. So financially unstable is kind of taking a very new shape for me. I gotta work with that, but I want to keep on creating original content. I want to keep on creating my content. One problem with this is, and I've realized this for quite some time now, that for the longest time I have made content for myself. I have made content that I wanted to see, hoping that I find people who also wanted to see, and I still believe in that. I still believe in all those travel videos, and I definitely believe there is an audience for that. But it turns out I'm not very good at playing the algorithm game, or the algorithm, at least at this point, might not yet be there to know who to recommend those to. That's kind of my thinking here. Nevertheless, it has been a form of selfish content, definitely, just like I said about Our Last Adventure. So I want to change that. I want to turn things around a little bit and make more valuable content, because I realized at the end of the last year, like I had a conversation with Kat, I said to her, it's kind of funny, I wouldn't change a thing. I'm very content with everything that is currently happening. I feel happy, but I'm not. And there's this saying, right? You cannot feel happy, you can only be happy. So it was the other way around for me. And like, one thing I figured out is that there definitely needs to be a balance between what I do and taking break, the work-life balance I spoke about, but also I think I'm very unhappy to not create some kind of form of value in the world. That sounds big, or maybe pathetic, maybe both. Anyway, I think the travel videos are valuable in their very own sense, but I think that I can actually do more and do something maybe in a way more meaningful. That sounds a bit self-absorbed now that I'm saying it out loud, but yeah. That being said, the end of the series is not only the end of the series, but actually a new beginning and literally the start of a new chapter, content-wise, creativity-wise. I want to take things to another level and hope that might also contribute positively to, not necessarily to being happy, but just living a good life, living a full life. That's what I'm aiming for. And I kid you not, I'm scared as fuck. I'm really afraid that I will not manage this. That I'm like, that I'm not good enough, that I'm not creative enough, that I'm just not, that I'm not able to get things done. I am, if you would know me, you would know that I'm a really insecure person. It doesn't look like it. If you're around me, it doesn't feel like it, but I am. Deep inside myself, I am. And this is also something I learned this year, like not only communicating it openly, but actually being open about it to myself. I am insecure, and I know that about myself, but I also know that I get things done. And this is something I'm proud of. I don't need to pose as this super determined and confident and a strong personality that gets everything done. You know, like people always tell you, be confident about it, own it. I don't think you need to do that. Like, this is also kind of self-awareness, being self-aware that I, for my part, am insecure, that I doubt myself, and that these are also things that are pushing me, hopefully, to new limits, to new heights, and hopefully to something valuable that I can bring to you. That's what I'm hoping for in 2022. That's kind of my biggest goal for this year.